A group of aggressive bikers at a California gas station chose the wrong target for harassment when they confronted an elegant older woman completely unaware that she was Patricia Taylor, the mother of Hollywood star Keanu Reeves. The crisp California morning air carried a hint of excitement as Keanu Reeves guided his sleek red Ferrari out of Los Angeles. Beside him, his mother, Patricia Taylor, sat comfortably, both dressed elegantly for the upcoming charity gala. The morning sun glinted off the car's polished surface, creating a dazzling display as they navigated through the gradually thinning city traffic. Inside the car, the leather interior created an intimate space for mother and son to discuss the day. Ahead, the purr of the engine provided a soothing backdrop to their conversation. "I'm really excited." A Boothus Gak, Keanu, Patricia said, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "The focus on veterans and the families left behind by the Army is so meaningful. It's amazing to see people coming for such important causes." Keanu nodded, his hands relaxed on the steering wheel. "Absolutely, Mom. I've heard the guest list is impressive too. There's talk of several high-profile philanthropists attending, as well as some fellow actors who are passionate about these issues." As they continued on their journey, Patricia noticed a red warning flashing on the GPS screen indicating incoming traffic. "Oh, number," she said, leaning in for a closer look. "Looks like there's heavy congestion a few miles ahead on the highway." Keanu frowned, slightly considering their options. "The alternative route is a more scenic drive through some remote roads. It would save us considerable time compared to sitting in that traffic jam." Patricia nodded thoughtfully. "That sounds like a good idea. We still have about an hour and a half of travel time, and punctuality matters at events." Lickathes Keen glanced at the fuel gauge, noting it was running lower than he'd like. For an extended journey, the only concern is that there might be fewer amenities along the way. "We're a bit low on fuel." After a brief discussion, they decided the scenic route was their best option. "You're right," Keanu said smoothly, changing lanes to prepare for their new course. Getting stuck in traffic with low fuel would be worse than taking the smaller road. The Ferrari gracefully turned onto the nearest exit, taking a less traveled road that wound toward the mountains direction. As they left the bustling highway behind, the landscape slowly began to change. Rolling hills gave way to more rugged terrain, and the air took in a fresher, crisper quality. Patricia gazed out the window, admiring the natural beauty surrounding them. "This really is lovely. Sometimes I forget how stunning California can be once you get away from the city." Keanu smiled, enjoying the drive on his mother's company. "It is beautiful, and it's nice to have this time together before the gala. These events can be a bit hectic sometimes." As they continued along the winding road, the conversation flowed easily. Between them, they discussed upcoming projects, family news, and their shared passion for philanthropy. The meals seemed to fly by as they enjoyed each other's company and the scenic route. However, as they ventured further into the more remote areas, Keanu kept a watchful eye on the fuel gauge. The digital bar was dipping lower than he'd like, and he knew they'd need to find a gas station soon. The beautiful landscape that had been so enjoyable now held a hint of concern as they realized how far they were from the more populated areas. "Mom," Keanu said, his voice calm but serious, "we're going to need to stop for fuel soon. I'm going to keep an eye out for any gas stations." "On the way," Patricia nodded, her expression a mix of concern and trust. "In her son's judgment, of course, dear. I'm sure we'll find something soon, perhaps at the next neighborhood area." As they continued their journey, both Keanu and Patricia remained alert, scanning the roadside for any signs of civilization, or more importantly, a gas station. The Ferrari's powerful engine continued to purr, but the looming need for fuel added a subtle tension to their otherwise pleasant drive. Several miles into their journey through the remote road, the Ferrari's fuel gauge dropped to a concerning level. Keanu's eyes darted between the road and the dashboard, his mind calculating their options. Just as the situation was becoming worrying, a small sign appeared on the roadside indicating a gas station in a nearby neighborhood. "Thank goodness," Patricia sighed with relief as Keanu expertly guided the car off the main road. Following the weathered signs as they approached, the gas station came into view. It was a far cry from the sleek modern stations they were accustomed to in Los Angeles. This place looked like it had been frozen in time, with worn pumps standing like sentinels under the late morning sun. The faded paint and slightly rusted metal gave it a character that spoke of years of service. Keanu pulled up to one of Thepum's. The Ferrari's gloss red finish is stark contrast to the station's weathered appearance as he got out to inspect the fuel options. A frown creased his brow. "What's wrong, dear?" Patricia asked. Noticing her sunk expression, "They only have mid-grade fuel here." Keanu explained, his voice tinged with concern. "The Ferrari really prefers premium unleaded." Patricia considered for a moment before responding, "Well, we don't have much choice, do we? We can't risk being late to the gala, and who knows when we'll find another station." Keanu nodded, agreeing with his mother's practical assessment. "You're right. It's good enough that an old station like this still has the 8-9 octane. It's not ideal, but it'll have to do. We can get the proper fuel once we're in a more populated area." As Keanu began to fuel the car, Patricia decided to head into the Storytime and pick up some drinks for the road. She grabbed her wallet from her purse, leaving the bag itself in the car. As she made her way towards the small convenience store attached to the station, it was then that she noticed that two bikers lounging near the store entrance, their motorcycles parked haphazardly. Nearby gleamed menacingly in sunlight. As Patricia approached, she could feel their eyes on her, their gazes far from friendly. One of the bikers, a burly man with a thick beard clad in leather jacket, let out a low whistle. Well, what do we have?" Harass sneered, nudging his companion. The other biker, a leaner man with a thicker hair and a scar across his cheek, grinned maliciously. "Hey, old rich lady. You think we should rob you or would like to share with us what's inside that pretty wallet?" he called out, his voice dripping with mock sweetness. Patricia felt a chill run down her spine but maintained her composure. She kept her eyes forward, avoiding direct eye contact as she proceeded into the store. The cool air inside was a stark contrast to the heat off. Embarrassment and fear she felt rising in her cheeks as she selected drinks from the cooler she could see through the window that the bikers hadn't moved. The one with the scar was still grinning at her, his eyes following her every move. Patricia took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Don't be afraid," she whispered to herself. "Keanu is close beyond. These men won't dare to hurt you physically. They're just trying to intimidate you with their nasty comments." With renewed determination, Patricia approached the counter to pay for the fuel and drinks. The elder gave her a sympathetic look, clearly aware of the biker's presence outside. "Don't you worry, ma'am," the cashier said in a low voice as he rang up her purchases. "Those boys are all talk. They won't do nothing but run their mouths. They've taunt some of the other customers." Patricia forced a small smile of gratitude, but as she turned to leave the store, an unsettling sense of dread lingered in her stomach. The bikers were still there waiting, their eyes gleaming with malicious intent like piranhas circling their prey. She gripped her wallet tightly, took a steadying breath, and stepped out into the sunlight, hoping despite her fears that the cashier had been right about the bikers' intentions. As Patricia exited the store, the bright California sun momentarily blinded her in that split second of vulnerability. Everything changed. A meaty hand suddenly clamped down on her arm, yanking her roughly to the side. Patricia gasped, her eyes widening in shock as she found herself face to face with the heavy-set biker, his thick beard doing little to hide the cruel twist of his lips. "Not so high and mighty. Now are you?" he growled, his grip tightening painfully in her arm. The smell of leather and stale cigarettes overwhelmed her senses as his companion closed in, forming a menacing wall that cut her off from the safety of the store. And her son Patricia's heart raced, her earlier bravado evaporating in the face of this very real threat. She opened her mouth to call for help, but fear had stolen her voice. The morning sun, once so pleasant, now cast long, ominous shadows across the gas station's cracked concrete, mirroring the darkness of the situation she found herself in. Just as panic threatened to overwhelm her, a familiar voice cut through the attention like a knife. "Hey, let her go!" Keanu's commanding tone carried across for court, filled with a fury Patricia had rarely heard from her usually calm son. The bikers turned. Momentarily distracted by the unexpected interruption, Patricia seized the opportunity, wrenching her arm free from the biker's grip with a strength born of desperation. She stumbled backward, her eyes locked on Keanu as he sprinted towards her, leaving the Ferrari's door wide open in his haste. As Keanu closed at a distance, his trained eye caught sight of something that made his blood run cold, a distinctive insignia on the bikers' vests. He recognized it immediately, but kept this knowledge to himself. focusing instead on reaching his mother. The heavyset biker, enraged by Patricia's escape and Keanu's intervention, lashed out. His meaty hand swung through the air, aiming a vicious slap at Patricia's face. But Keanu was faster. With the precision of a seasoned action star, he intercepted the attack, grabbing the man's arm mid-swing in a fluid motion that spoke of years of training. Keanu used the biker's momentum against him. He twisted, pivoted, and suddenly the burly man found himself down on the asphalt, arm wrenched behind his back. The second biker froze, caught off guard by Keanu's swift and effective response above them unnoticed. In the heat of the moment, the gas station's security camera whirred quietly, its unblinking eye recording every detail of the confrontation. As Keanu held the first biker down, his attention was drawn to a new threat, a third biker, stocky with a shaved head and a prominent scar, running from temple to jaw, had taken advantage of the distraction. He'd snuck over to the unlocked Ferrari and was now standing there, Patricia's purse clutched triumphantly in Hishon's. Well, the scarred biker called out, his voice dripping with malice. Looks like we got ourselves a real-life action hero, but can you save the day when we've got your mommy's back? He dangled the purse tauntingly, a cruel grin splitting his face. How about this, big shot? You and the old lady bow down and apologize to our mate here, and maybe we'll give it back. Otherwise, he left the threat hanging in the air, his implications clear. Keanu's mind raced. Assessing the situation, he knew he could take Thesman in a fight, if it came to that, but with his mother present, he was reluctant to escalate the violence further. Thepers contained more than just money. There were irreplaceable family photos, important documents, and sentimentalisms that meant the world to Patricia. As the tension mounted, the air grew thick with the promise of violence. The fallen biker struggled beneath Keanu's hold, spitting curses into the dust. The second biker had regained his composure and was now eyeing Keanu warily, clearly trying to decide whether to jump in or not. And there, by the Ferrari, the scar biker continued to taunt them, clearly ring in what he perceived as his moment of war. Patricia stood frozen, her eyes darting between her son and her captured purse. She wanted to tell Keanu to let it go, that no possession was worth risking his safety, but the words caught in her throat. She could see the determination in her son's eyes, the set of his jaw that told her he wasn't about to back down for a moment. Time seemed to stand still. The California sun beat down mercilessly, the heat adding to the pressure of the moment. In the distance, sound of a car passing on the main road served as a reminder of how isolated they were, how far from help. Keanu knew he had to act, and act fast, but as he prepared to make his move, he was acutely aware of the potential consequence. One wrong step could turn this already dangerous situation into something far worse. With his mother Safety his primary concern, he began to formulate a plan, his eyes never leaving scarred biker and the purse that had become the focal point of this tense standoff. The tension at the gas station had reached a fever pitch. The three bikers, emboldened by their perceived upper hand, began to laugh, raucous, a cruel joke. The idea of a celebrity and an elderly woman bowing at their feet seemed to fill them with perverse glee, their earlier intimidation transforming into outright mockery. Punyan, big shot, the scarred biker taunted, waving Patricia's purse in the air. Let's see you and mommy. Dearest, get down on your knees maybe, if you beg real nice, we'll let you keep some of the cash. His companions joined in their laughter, echoing across the deserted forecourt. They were so caught up in their moment of triumph that they failed to notice the subtle shift in Keanu's posture, the way his eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation. In that moment of distraction, Keanu saw his opportunity. With a burst of speed that belied his years of action movie training, he released his hold on the fallen biker and lunged towards the one holding the purse. The scarred biker's eyes widened in surprise, his laughter cutting off abruptly as Keanu closed the distance between them in mere seconds before the biker could react. Keanu had him in a precise hold, one arm locked around his neck, while the other twisted the wrist of the hand holding the purse. The move was executed with such skill and speed that it looked almost effortless, a testament to Keanu's years of martial arts training. Drop it, Keanu growled, his voice low and dangerous. The biker caught off guard and, suddenly finding himself in a very vulnerable position, let out a strangled gasp. The purse slipped from his fingers, landing with a soft thud on the cracked concrete. Patricia, seizing the moment, darted forward and snatched Up her Persesh clutched it to her chest, relief washing over her face as she retreated to a safer distance. The other two bikers, realizing their advantage had evaporated, began to move towards Keanu, but he was ready for them, still maintaining his "Hold on," the scarred biker, he called out, his voice calm, but carrying an unmistakable edge of authority. "I wouldn't if I were you," he said, not nodding towards something above their heads. All eyes followed his gaze to a small, blinking red light mounted on the corner of the gas station building. CCTV. Keanu explained, his tone matter of fact. "It's been recording this whole time. How do you think the police will react when they see three grown men with an insignia harassing an elderly woman and attempting robbery?" The bikers froze. The implications of Keanu's words, sinking in, their expressions shifted from anger to uncertainty, and finally to a grudging realization that they had severely underestimated their intended victims. Slowly, carefully, Keanu released his hold on the scarred biker, pushing him away as he stepped back to stand protectively in front of his mother. The three men regrouped, exchanging glances that spoke volumes about their deflated bravado. For a moment, silence reigned over the gas station. The only sounds were the distant off traffic on the main road and the soft whirring of the security camera above. Tenth Heavy's set biker, the one who had first grabbed Patricia, broke the silence. "Just because you're a celebrity doesn't mean there won't be consequences," he snarled, his voice dripping with malessio. "Might think you're safe now, but remember, we know what you look like and we know what car you drive." His companions nodded in agreement, their eyes glinting with barely suppressed rage. The threat hung in the air, as palpable as the heat shimmering off the asphalt. Keanu, however, remained unruffled, met their glares with a steady gaze of his own, his posture relaxed but ready. "I think it's time for all of us to go our separate ways," he said calmly. "We can all forget this ever happened, or we can let the authorities sort it out." "You're Swiss." The bikers hesitated, clearly torn between their desire for revenge and thievery, real possibility of legal consequences. The morning sun glinted off their motorcycle handles as they shifted lunously, the metal seeming to underscore the tension of the moment. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the scarred biker spat on the ground and turned it away. "Come on, boys," he muttered. "This isn't worth the hassle anymore." His companions followed suit, shooting dark looks at Keanu and Patricia as they mounted their motorcycles. The roar of engines filled the air as they kicked their spikes to life, a sound that was both a relief and a lingering threat. Keanu waited until they had ridden out of the gas station before turning to his mother. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, his eyes scanning her for any signs of injury. Patricia nodded, her hand still clutching her purse tightly. "I'm fine, thanks to you," she said, her voice shaky but grateful. "But Keanu, those men, they threats. Don't worry about that now," Keanu assured her, gently guiding her towards the Ferrari. "Lighten, get back on the road. We're already running late for the gala." As they settled into the car, Keanu couldn't shake the feeling that this confrontation wasn't truly over. Hestered at the engine, the Ferrari's powerful purr a comforting sound after the tension of the past few minutes. As they pulled away from the gas station, Keanu kept a careful eye on the rearview mirror. His suspicions were confirmed when he spotted three familiar silhouettes in the distance, following at a discreet but unmistakable distance. The bikers, it seemed, weren't ready to let this go just yet. As the Ferrari accelerated onto the main road, Keanu'sman raced, trying to formulate a plan that would ensure his mother's safety and bring this dangerous game to an end. As the Ferrari wound its way back to the mountain road, Keanu's mind raced faster than the car itself. The urge to stop and confront the bikers tugged at him, a temptation born from years of playing action heroes who never backed down from a fight. But the presence of his mother in the passenger seat demanded a more cautious approach. This wasn't a movie set with carefully choreographed stunts and safety measures. This was real, and the stakes were far too high for reckless action. The road ahead stretched out before them, a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the rugged California landscape. Each curve offered both a challenge and an opportunity, a chance to put distance between them and their pursuers, but also a potential trap if navigated poorly. Patricia's voice cut through Keanu's thoughts, tight with barely contained anxiety. "Keanu, please be careful," she urged, her eyes fixed on the side mirror. "They're still back there. Every time we slow down for a curve, they seem to get close." Keanu glanced in his rearview mirror, confirming his mother's observation. The bikers were main and Angus steady suit, their motorcycles appearing larger each time. The Ferrari had to reduce speed for a particularly sharp bend. He could see the determination in their postures, the way they leaned into each turn with practiced ease. These men were not going to give up easily. "Don't worry, Mom," Keanu said, his voice calm despite the tension coursing through him. "I've got this under control." He focused on the road ahead, Hishins steady on the wheel as he guided the Ferrari through another curve with precision. As they neared Lake Arrowhead, Keanu began to explain his plan to Patricia. "Once we get to the hotel, they'll probably back off," he said, flicking between the road and the rearview mirror. "They won't want to cause a scene in a crowded, high-security area." Patricia nodded, but her grip on the door handle remained tight. "And what if they don't leave us alone?" she asked, voicing the concern. That had been goring at both of them. Keanu's expression hardened slightly. "If they don't," he said, his voice taking on a determined edge, "I'll need to drop you off at the hotel to ensure your safety. Then I'll handle the situation with our pursuers." Patricia opened her mouth to protest, but the words died on her lips as the Sierra Heights Resort came into view. The modern architecture of the hotel rose impressively against the mountain backdrop, a beacon of civilization after their harrowing journey. As they approached the resort, Keanu noticed the bike is handling. Back when they entered the hotel area, passing through a security checkpoint, the bikers stopped a short distance away. Just outside the hotel's perimeter, a wave of relief swept over both Keanu and Patricia, but it was tempered by the lingering knowledge that the bikers, though at a distance, still posed a clear threat. As they continued to watch them as they pulled up to the hotel's grand entrance with valet and staff bustling around in preparation for the charity gala, Keanu couldn't shake the feeling that this confrontation was far from over. The afternoon sun caught Thefadel's glass facade, creating a momentary glare that seemed to underscore the precarious nature of their situation. As a valet approached to take the Ferrari, Keanu made a quick assessment. These men wouldn't simply leave, and their presence threatened not just his family but everyone attending the event. He turned to Patricia, his decision made. "Mom, I need you to go inside and inform the organizers that I'll be delayed," he said, his voice low but firm. "I have to deal with this situation before it escalates further." Patricia hesitated, her eyes wide with concern. "Keanu, please," urged, "just come inside with me. Leave those men alone. We're safe here." But Keanu shook his head, his resolve evident in the set of his jaw. "I can't do that, Mom. As long as they're not leaving out there, no one is truly safe. In need to end this now." Patricia looked at her son, seeing not just the famous actor but the determined, principled man she had raised. She knew that once Keanu set his mind to something, especially when it came to protecting others, there was no dissuading him with a mixture of pride and worry. In her eyes, she nodded her understanding as Patricia exited the car, her elegant outfit somewhat at odds with the tension in her posture. Keanu prepared himself for what was to come. He watched his mother enter the hotel, ensuring she was safely inside. Before turning his attention back to the distant figures of the bikers, with a deep breath, Keanu put the Ferrari into gear. He had a plan forming in his mind, a way to confront these men on his own terms as he drove towards the exit, leaving behind the safety of the hotel. He knew he was taking a risk, but it was a calculated one born from years of experience both on and off the screen. The Ferrari's engine purred as Keanu neared the security portal, his gaze fixed on the bikers who were closing in behind him. After passing the portal, he merged onto the roadside and rolled down the window, letting the rush of mountain air hit his face. Catching their attention, he threw them a deliberate wink and a challenge. "Let's settle this. Know what you want to fight?" One of the bikers grinned, cracking his knuckles. "There's plenty of spot in this area for that. Who said anything about fighting? You've got bikes, I've got my sports car. We race." His voice exuded confidence rather than aggression, catching the bikers off guard as they approached his car. Their mocking expressions shifted to thoughtful consideration. Keanu could almost see the gears turning in their minds, weighing the challenge he just presented. Finally, the biggest of the group, the scarred biker, spoke up. "All right, movie star," he sneered, a spark of competition in his eyes. "You want to settle this? Let's make it interesting. First one to reach that White House up there on the mountainside wins." Keanu's followed the biker's gesture. Spotting the prominent house perched on the slope above, he quickly assessed the route, his mind already plotting the best way to navigate the winding road. "And what are the stakes, Keanu?" Escady's tone level, but challenging, the biker grin wide, revealing a set of yellowed teeth. If we win, you bow down, apologize for disrespecting us, and pay up. If you win, well, we'll leave you and your mommy alone, for good. Keanu considered the proposal for a moment. It was risky, but it also presented an opportunity to end this confrontation once and for all without violence. He glanced at his Ferrari, the powerful machine humming with potential energy, ready to spring into action at his command. With a nod, "You accepted Decalanguron," he said, his voice carrying a quiet confidence that seemed to unnerve the bikers slightly as the bikers revved their engines, preparing for the race. Keanu took a deep breath. He knew that what he was about to do was dangerous, possibly even foolish, but he also knew that sometimes the only way to confront a threat was head-on. The mountain road stretched out before them, a gauntlet of curves and straightaways that would test both skill and nerve. As Keanu gripped the steering wheel, he sent a silent apology to his mother for the worry he was about to cause her. Then, with a roar of engines, the race began, the Ferrari and the motorcycles launching forward into what would prove to be a pivotal confrontation. The Ferrari's engine roared to life as Keanu floored the accelerator, the powerful car surging forward with a burst of speed that momentarily left the bikers in his wake. The afternoon sun glinted off the coarse-polished surface as it tore along the winding mountain road, the scenery blurring into a kaleidoscope of green sand browns. But the bikers were not to be outdone, their motorcycles lighter and more maneuverable than the Ferrari. Quickly caught up, they swerved aggressively on both sides of Keanu, their machines deftly navigating the curves with a recklessness born of familiarity with the terrain. Dust kicked up from their wheels, creating a swirling cloud that threatened to obscure. Keanu's Visione gripped the steering wheel tightly, his years of stunt driving experience coming into play as he expertly guided Ferrari through each turn. The car hugged the road, its superior handling Keanu to maintain control even as the bikers tried to force him into ammo stake. As they approached a particularly sharp bend, Keanu couldn't help but think that if only he had THN in 1-octane fuel, the car preferred its performance would be optimal for the turbo engine. Mid-grade fuel from the earlier pit stop was adequate, but in a high-stakes race like this, every little advantage counted. The race remained incredibly close as they neared the White House that marked their finish line. Keanu's Ferrari matched the bikes move for move, his driving skill evident in each precise